The Championship is back this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. The international break is now over and we are back to go over our weekly score predictions ahead of all the action. As always, do get your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you see your side's performance going this weekend? As always, if you're going to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. Without any further ado though, let's jump into the matches. And we'll start out with Friday night's game, Hull going up against Luton. It's a big month for Shotter of, let's say, the Hull manager becoming under increasing pressure with how results have gone so far, and we knew this pressure was always going to be there at Hull with how much was invested into this squad over the summer. The results just haven't been there so far this season. They're currently 20th in the table, and towards the end, before that last international break, they really weren't on a good run. 4 consecutive losses, back-to-back 3-0s as well in that time, conceding a lot of chances, and yeah, it's now or never, it feels like, for the manager to go ahead and turn things around. It does feel as if there are a decent run of games coming up for this whole squad, but as we all know in the Championship, you can't really plan things out on paper like that. After this Luton game, they've got games against Wigan, Huddersfield, Birmingham and Blackpool and Rotherham. If they don't get a considerable amount of points from those matches, you'd imagine the manager may be facing the chop. Going up against the Luton side, who obviously got a good result before the international break, that 2-0 win over Blackburn. And I think it's Luton who I'm fancying for this one, to be honest. Hull just have looked so shaky at the back that unless they've sorted those issues over the international break, I'm going to go 2-1 Luton as my score prediction in this one. Just think they've got a bit more about them. Next then we head to Ewood Park for Blackburn up against Millwall in the first of our Saturday matches. It was a decent result for Millwall before the international break, 2-1 against Blackpool. The sticking point I've got with Millwall is really their away form. It was a similar case with Gary Rowett last season as well. He's just not quite found the perfect formula for Millwall on the road as things stand, yet to get an away win for their season. Blackburn have been this sort of all or nothing side so far this season. Their home record has been decent. 5 games played at Ewood this season, 3 wins but 2 losses in that time as well. No draws as of right now for Blackburn. They do seem to be that sort of side that will die on their sword sometimes, can leave themselves a little bit vulnerable at the back when they will go for games, but with that extra bit of threat that I think Blackburn will probably have in this game as being the home side, I think I am just edging towards them. Millwall can be a little bit unreliable on the road, so score prediction time, I'm just going to edge Blackburn, I think, for a 2-1 win in that game, but don't see there being all too much in it. After that we head to Bloomfield Road for Blackpool up against Norwich. Not an easy game for Blackpool in this one. I recently was looking at their fixture list for the month of October, and they've got a really tough month to go ahead and come up. After this game against Norwich, they've got games against Sunderland, Watford, Sheffield United, and then a game against Hull before they have the local derby against Preston. So quite a jam-packed month coming up here for Blackpool. I think Norwich are the obvious favourites for this one, obviously. Before the international break, on a 7-game unbeaten run, they were on that run of successive wins that stopped just before the international break with that 1-1 draw against West Brom. Not their finest performance of the season, and we have still seen a few clunky moments from this Dean Smith side, who are by no means the finished article, but what they do have is several threats in the final third, and I think that those threats will probably carry them through this game. Score prediction time, I'm going to go 2-0 Norwich in this game. Just think they've got that more firepower about them. Next then we go to Bristol City up against QPR. Really looking forward to this matchup. It does feel like a game that could have quite a few goals in and could bring that entertainment factor. I know that before the international break, QPR played out that goalless draw with Stoke, but I do think there are goals to be had in this QPR side, and that's certainly been the case with them on the road so far this season. 7 goals they've scored away from home this season. They do currently rank amongst the top Championship scorers when it comes to away matches, and who else is better for scoring goals at the moment than Bristol City? They did have somewhat of a tail off in form before the international break, but the fixtures did turn quite harshly on Bristol City with that back-to-back doubleheader against Norwich and against Burnley. Even in those 2 losses, there were still some positive elements to take from it. That Norwich game especially, had they not had those defensive blunders at the back, which are still quite commonplace with this Bristol City side, I actually thought they put in a decent showing for that game. For a score prediction in this one though, I'll go for a 4-goal thriller, 2-2 I'll say for this one, but wouldn't be surprised if either team edges that one, just a question of which attack really comes out on top and who's on form on the day. After that we then head to Cardiff up against Burnley. As of recording, Cardiff still yet to go ahead and appoint anyone as their new permanent manager. For the time being it will be Mark Hudson who takes charge of the first team, and it's all a little bit of a mess really to go ahead and part ways with Steve Morrison in the manner of which they did, and then not really having that forward thinking to go ahead and have another manager lined up in the international break. All a little bit strange at the moment, and there's no doubt there have been issues with this Cardiff squad so far this season, you know, most notably hitting the back of the net, you know, other than that game against Middlesbrough that has been a problem for them so far this season. I do think that some of those problems could be exposed against this Burnley side, who it did feel like were properly starting to click up into full gear. Now there have been a lot of draws when it comes to Burnley so far this season, and so I wouldn't completely discount that from this game. You know, do you get manager being sacked sort of bounce? I'm not sure if we'll see something along those lines from this Cardiff squad, or how different the setup actually will be under Mark Hudson. But Burnley got that result before the international break against Bristol City, also had a decent performance against Preston in a 1-1 draw as well. I just see them as the stronger outfit between these two at the moment. So score prediction time, I'm going to go 2-0 Burnley, just a lot more cohesion about them at the moment. After that we head to Coventry up against Middlesbrough, a massive game in the circumstances of both these sides and how their seasons have gone so far. If you were to tell me that, you know, 10 games into this season, both of these would be sat in the bottom 3, I don't think I would have believed you. I had them both predicted well within the top half of the table at the start of this season. Before the international break, both sides had goalless draws, which I feel like were probably taken in different ways. Middlesbrough had that goalless draw against Rotherham, more frustration around them really, whereas Coventry had that draw against Birmingham, and I thought that could have maybe been seen as the start of maybe building on something in terms of Coventry actually going ahead and keeping a clean sheet in that game. It's been a real problem for them this season, how leaky they've actually looked defensively. So yeah, if they could take that forward into their next few matches, then they may have the basis to start building on something. The loss that Coventry will obviously have for this game is Gustavo Hamer. He is serving his suspension after that red card against Birmingham, which will obviously be a miss, but I'm just not that inclined at the moment to back either of these sides, and so for that reasoning I think I'm edging towards a draw for these two, but a win is massively needed to kickstart either of their seasons. Score prediction time though, I'm going to go 1-1 between these two. Really anything could happen, they've both been inconsistent so far. Next then we head to Reading up against Huddersfield. Now Huddersfield have been quite active since I last made a video on them, and they have gone ahead and appointed a new manager, Mark Fotheringham, coming in as their new gaffer for the season. Now this is the appointment that Huddersfield have had to nail with the situation they currently find themselves in the Championship, and the other teams who are in and amongst the bottom end of the Championship at the moment, who we expect to have that natural rise up the league over this next month or so. Huddersfield could really find themselves in a sticky situation come the Qatar World Cup if the new manager doesn't have the desired impact on this squad. It's an interesting appointment. He's a manager who has built up his coaching CV with various gigs over the years, but it is a gamble in the sense that this is his first managerial job, and he's walking into what is a bit of an all over the place situation with Huddersfield and how they've gone ahead and started this season. It's not the easiest first game for him as well, going away to Reading, who have been so consistent in their home matches so far this season. Great result for Reading before the international break as well, that 1-0 win against Wigan. And I just think that I've backed against Reading at home too many times this season. I'm not going to fall into that trap again. So Huddersfield could very well have a new manager bounce, but I think I'm siding with Reading for this one. 2-1 Reading is my score prediction. Huddersfield fans, would be interested to get your take on it down below. And next up to Rotherham up against Wigan. Plenty has happened at Rotherham as well since I last made a video on them, with Paul Warne walking out on the club to go ahead and accept the Derby County job. A real hammer blow for Rotherham because, you know, we've seen them over the years yo-yoing between League One and the Championship with Warne in charge, but this has felt, and the start to the season that they've had, it's felt like this has been the best it's ever got for them, and the fact that he sort of walked away from it now is a little bit gutting, because we'll never truly know what could have transpired for Rotherham and Warne had they stuck together for this season. They're now in the situation where they are searching for a new manager. As of recording, they're yet to go ahead and appoint anyone, and this is an interesting fixture because, I mean, I take it from the group of players that Rotherham have got there, and it's sort of strong-minded bunch of individuals who I think will come together as a collective and won't be all too deterred in the short-term basis that Warner's gone ahead and left. And the fact that the home crowd will be roaring them on as well, I think will also be an added benefit. Something has to give in this game though. Rotherham yet to lose at home. Wigan yet to lose on the road. Their away record this season has been absolutely phenomenal. A draw and 3 wins for Wigan on the road. I can't really separate these two. I'm going for a 1-1 draw as my score prediction. But yeah, one leaving Rotherham could go one of two ways. It could completely throw them and they go and tumble down the Championship, or they remain to be resolute. Next then we head to Sheffield United up against Birmingham. Now if you watch my video during the international break where we tallied how many points each Championship club would have if all of my score predictions came true, you'll know that I've massively been backing Sheffield United so far this season. I've predicted them to win 9 out of the 10 matches they've played so far, and they no doubt will come into this game against Birmingham as the overwhelming favourites. That's not to say that Birmingham won't have their threats for this game though. On the road they've actually been fairly decent recently, Birmingham, to be fair to them. Had that brilliant away win at West Brom, also picked up all 3 points away at Preston as well, and the head-to-head record between these two in recent years also is massively weighted in Birmingham's favour. Sheffield United have only won 2 of their last 11 meetings against Birmingham, so maybe a little bit of a bogey team territory we're getting into here, but Sheffield United are riding high at the top of the Championship at the moment, and I think I've got to go with momentum. I'm going to back Sheffield United for all 3 points with a 2-0 home victory in this one, but Birmingham are the sort of side that can throw a spanner in the works. Next then we go to Sunderland up against Preston. It will be interesting to see if Ellis Sims is back involved for the weekend. Reports have said that he's sort of progressing with coming back, but whether or not the weekend will come too soon for him, we will wait and see. Sunderland still have their attacking threats even without, you know, Stewart and Sims, who had been 2 of their best players so far this season, but you know, front 3 of Roberts, Clark and Pritchard playing in the hole still has plenty of goals to be had there. And the same can't really be said for Preston at the moment. Currently the league's lowest scorers. It wasn't a great way to leave it before the international break. We had that loss against Sheffield United. Another game where we started out quite well, had a few opportunities, couldn't take them, and ultimately were hit by that hammer blow, and Sheffield United saw the game out from there. It does feel as if this run from October onwards is going to be quite crucial for Preston to try and build up any sort of momentum from an attacking point of view. So far this season that's just not been able to happen, but this isn't an ideal fixture, I don't feel, to go ahead and do it. I've been really impressed with Sunderland so far, and as tight as Preston have kept things at the back, there's only so long, you know, we can go on like this before we need our strikers to start returning with that healthy goal return. Troy Parrott had a bit of a nightmare on international duty as well, missing another sitter. For a prediction in this one, reluctantly I do think Sunderland may take it. I'm going to say 1-0 Sunderland, but another one which I see being fairly tight with Preston. Next then we go to West Brom up against Swansea at the Hawthorns. It does feel as if something has to give with West Brom sooner rather than later in terms of this crazy run they've been on at the start of this season. 10 games played, 1 win, 7 draws and 2 losses. Steve Bruce needs to pull a win out from somewhere. Even with the frustration surrounding their season so far, the underlying stats have all been quite positive with West Brom, so they are a hard one to make a final read on as things stand. Swansea, the international break probably came at a bit of a bad time for them. They finally got that winning feeling back around the club with that 3-0 win over Hull. Much better and more threatening in the final third. And generally speaking, away from home, Swansea haven't been awful so far. They've been quite happy at times to pick up a point and things like that. And so I wouldn't be massively surprised if this one ends as a draw, but I just think that surely we're going to get to the point where the stats start to level out for West Brom and they will get back to winning ways. And so with that in mind, I'm going to go 2-1 West Brom in this game as a prediction, but God knows with them at the moment. And then last up for today on Sunday, we've got Stoke going up against Watford. Stoke, it seemed like, started to be falling into place for Alex Neil. He obviously had 3 consecutive away games after that opening home match against Swansea, and he's had more time now to go ahead and work with the group over this international break. leg. It's an interesting one going up against this Watford squad because we expect so much to have changed since we last saw them because of that departure of Rob Edwards. If you didn't see yesterday's video, make sure to go ahead and check that one out. We sort of dove into the history of the Pozzo family at Watford and how many changes they have made over the years. It is nice to see Bilic back in the Championship, but it is a shame that it's at the expense of Rob Edwards, who I think was ultimately really harshly treated at Watford. I'd expect a few tactical tweaks from Bilic. I'd expect a return to the back four at Watford, and in these early days, two relatively new managers going up against each other with their projects at their new teams, I think I'm going to sit on the fence and go for a draw. 1-1 I'm saying between these two. Don't think there'll be all too much in it. But guys, there you have it. Those are my Championship predictions heading into the weekend. I'd be very interested to know which way you guys are swaying for all of the results. As always, do get your predictions down below and your comments for how you're currently feeling about your club. As always, if you did go on to enjoy, do leave a like and do stick around for some regular Championship content. Apart from that though guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you all in the next one.